and deserves some discussion. So since we do know that about 1/5 of all cancers globally is linked to infections, and most of these discoveries have been made through the last 3 decades, is it worthwhile to look for other cancers which have not yet linked to infection for a potential role of viruses? And this I will elaborate in my subsequent part. Clearly, cancers occurring at increased frequency under immunosuppression, be it by AIDS infections or be it due to organ transplant recipients, they acquire a number of additional cancers, and many of these cancers are indeed due to infectious events which are reactivated in the course of this immunosuppression. I will here only briefly dwell on them. The more interesting part is even cancers at a reduced incidence under immunosuppression, or which are not affected by immunosuppression. And there are a couple of those. There are cancers which are influenced by others, basically non-tumorigenic infections. And finally, there are nutritional cancer risk factors possibly linked to infectious events. Let me come very briefly to this point here. We do know that specific cancers are reduced in immunosuppressed individuals. And this specifically accounts for breast cancer. I will not discuss at this stage any of the other cancers, but I may come back to them later in other talks. In AIDS patients as well as in organ transplant recipients, there is an approximately 15% reduction in the cancer risk in the course of immunosuppression. In a way, at the first glance, counterintuitive in comparison to many of the other events. But here we have an animal example which may provide us with a hint what is going to happen here. Namely, in 1938, John Bittner discovered the mouse memory tumor virus, the Bittner factor as it was initially called, an agent which is transmitted from the milk of the feeding mothers to their progeny. The virus is passing the digestive tract and infects the cells of the Peyer's patches, aggregates of lymphatic cells, where these infected lymphatic cells virtually start to swell. They produce a super antigen induced by the virus, and at the same time they start to produce large quantities of the virus particles. They are eluted into the peripheral blood and also into the lymph stream,